I am the tender snowflakes that blanket the Sierra Nevada. I flow through the meadows and carve my own path. I gush down steep slopes, building icy cascades with my water. I am mighty. I am alive. I am the Bear River, and the proposal to build Centennial Dam puts me at your mercy. I am loved by many. I sustain life flowing from faucets for thousands of people. My water is used for agriculture and electricity. In summer, I am kept alive thanks to huge diversions of water from the Yuba River. More than 129 billion gallons of Yuba water are sent down the Drum Canal every year. To visualize that, imagine a cube of ice the size of a football field, but it would be 56 miles tall. This water will never again kiss the banks of the Yuba River. And thus, the fates of the Bear and Yuba rivers are bound together. During summer, when the South Fork of the Yuba River is barely flowing at about 40 cubic feet per second, the Drum Canal removes Yuba water at 10 times that rate upstream. I am the Bear River, but I am mostly made of Yuba water, which will be sold to customers down the line. Yuba water that began at Donner Summit likely finds the Drum Canal and passes into Rawlins Reservoir. After Rawlins, I am then free for an exhilarating 6 miles. These 6 miles would lie at the bottom of Centennial Reservoir. Here I carry excited whitewater paddlers through beautiful green canyons. I bring gold for locals and tourists to make a withdrawal at my banks. Fishermen, hikers, bird watchers, and many more come here to admire my wildness. I am stopped again in Combi Reservoir. Is this the end? Far from it. I then flow to Camp Far West Reservoir, holding another 34 billion gallons if it is full. Most of my water has been sold before reaching this reservoir. Below here, much of my water is used to grow rice. Some of my water will continue down the lower Bear River, passing through the Sacramento Delta, and then under the Golden Gate Bridge before I'm back in the Pacific Ocean.
These rivers have spoken to me my entire life. I am from these hills, and like you, I love these rivers. I could not believe my eyes when I saw that NID, the Nevada Irrigation District, had plans to build Centennial Reservoir on this celebrated stretch of Bear River. This is where my best friends and I learned to kayak 15 years ago. I flipped my boat right here, and I learned a deep respect for the river. This place is a gem in our community. I am the third generation of my family to call these watersheds home. As a filmmaker, I felt compelled to speak on behalf of Bear River. But filmmaking costs money and time, and I was hesitant at first. Furthermore, I love NID. I still do. I've traveled around the world and still have never tasted water finer than this. They provide water to my mom and keep her home safe from fire, and that means a lot to me. But then I went to NID's public meeting last spring. I saw this dam for what it is. Dozens of my fellow citizens courageously stepped up to the microphone. They were afraid for their safety, for losing their heritage sites, recreation, the river, income from tourism, and afraid of losing their homes. I knew then that I had to make this movie, and I'm doing it for them. I had crossed a threshold, and there was no turning back. Americans removed one dam every 6 days on average during 2015. So there must be good reasons to take a careful look at dams and reservoirs. I think our community needs to decide whether or not we build the dam. After all, we will pay for it in more ways than one. In this film, let's ask 3 questions. Would the dam solve the problem? What are the costs? And what would be the lasting effects? Question number 1. Would the dam even solve the problems? The 2 greatest water problems that we face are decreasing supply and greater demand. NID has filed a request to remove 72 billion gallons of water from the Bear River, or a football field 31 miles tall. That's a lot of water. NID claims Centennial will help us through climate change because snowpack is decreasing. But reservoirs don't make water, they simply catch it if there is extra. We don't even fill the existing Bear River reservoirs 100% of the time. So how much extra water is there to catch? Only 5 times in the last 18 years has there been enough extra water to fill NID's request. According to a scientific paper released by the USDA and US Forest Service, future precipitation is projected to decrease. This means less water, and a greater likelihood of being unable to even fill the existing Bear River reservoirs. California's growing population of 39 million people use more than 7 billion gallons of water per day. Regardless of whether precipitation stays the same or decreases, it is literally impossible to grow population forever. So why did they ask for 10 times that amount of water? Is there a plan to develop new housing for 10 times more customers? Is NID planning to sell the water outside of our district? Do we want more Yuba water sold to fuel more urban sprawl? NID may be forced to guarantee that water supply even during times of shortage. Where will NID turn when they need more water? Would they attempt to increase diversions from the Yuba River? In a shortage, they may be obligated to. This is the danger of selling new municipal water contracts to fuel the urban sprawl from Sacramento. Furthermore, Centennial Dam would be located above Camp Far West Reservoir, which is owned by South Sutter Water District. They sell water to irrigate 43,000 acres of farmland. If Centennial were built and NID removed 72 billion gallons of the Bear River, it is highly likely that less water would go to Camp Far West Reservoir, therefore threatening those farmers. South Sutter Water District has filed a protest against Centennial Dam for this reason. This diversion flows to thousands of acres of farmland, and the extra water pours over this wall back into the lower Bear River. There would have been no extra water flowing over that wall into the lower Bear River 13 of the last 18 years if NID had removed 72 billion gallons. Question number 2. What are the costs of Centennial? Centennial Reservoir is designed to rise above Bear River 250 feet, but as it empties throughout the year, the surface could lower 120 feet from the upper rim. These images of Oroville Reservoir show you what Centennial could become: a barren hillside more than 10 stories tall. Would you want to buy this lakefront property? This would inundate prime habitat for bobcats, bears, birds, and countless other species. These barren walls are essentially an ecological wasteland, and the lake would substantially constrict animal migration corridors. Reducing the amount of water flowing down the lower Bear River would deteriorate an area designated as critical habitat by the National Marine Fishery Service, further endangering steelhead, sturgeon, and salmon. Centennial would flood the graves of Native Americans dating back thousands of years. There are sacred places that are still in use today by the Nishinan people in an unbroken chain of rituals carried on for countless generations. Perhaps the greatest burden would be placed on our fellow citizens, the 25 families who would lose their home. While I have lost sleep at night because of this project, I'm sure it is nothing compared to the suffering of our fellow citizens whose families would be displaced. NID publicly states they have already purchased some homes, but they could resort to eminent domain in the future to secure the rest. Centennial would flood sections of public lands owned by all of us and managed by the Bureau of Land Management. The local BLM officials are opposed to giving up that land, so NID is going through Congress to obtain it. Unfortunately, NID would also be able to circumvent the regulations and environmental protections that were just set in place after 7 years of negotiations with federal and local agencies. NID would also have to acquire land in Placer County, which is out of their jurisdiction. Reservoirs lose approximately 5 to 16% of their water annually through evaporation. Already, the existing dams on the Bear River may be losing about 4 billion gallons of water annually. For perspective, you could fill more than 6,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools with that evaporated water. Another reservoir means more evaporation. Reservoirs are also good at catching sediment. Old reservoirs become inefficient and must be dredged to return to peak performance. It's part of the deal. Our Sierra Nevada rivers are still suffering from the region's long gold mining history. During the gold rush, roughly 8 to 9 million pounds of mercury were released into the environment, and it is still here, trapped in the reservoirs, entering the food chain, poisoning the fish, and anyone else who eats them. NID's customers will be paying back a debt costing hundreds of millions of dollars, with interest decades into the future. It is uncertain where the money will come from and who is investing these hundreds of millions into this project. If NID didn't pay back the loan, could these outside investors obtain ownership of the dam? Question number 3. What legacy would Centennial leave? Centennial Reservoir would worsen global climate change. We now know reservoirs release methane, a gas 35 times more effective at warming the planet than carbon dioxide. Reservoirs around the planet release so much methane, it is equivalent to roughly 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide annually. We've discussed measurable losses, but what about the immeasurable ones? I learned to kayak on this stretch of river, and if I have a kid, I would want to teach him or her to kayak there too. We love the wildness of this place we call home. How many of these gems do we really want to lose? Americans are removing dams at a rate of 1 every 6 days on average, but it's not cheap. If we want to remove this dam in the future, how many millions would that cost us? Centennial Dam just doesn't sound like a good idea, especially if there are better solutions for securing our water supply. Let's explore some better solutions. If we dredge the existing reservoirs, we would open up immense amounts of new water storage. If we also seal up sections of the 460 miles of ditches and canals, we would save an incredible amount of water. What if NID, like Roseville, invested in infrastructure to inject water underneath Lincoln, storing water in the aquifer, and then removing the water when demand increases. We are already rich in water. More than 50 inches of precipitation fall in Nevada County every year, on average. A rooftop the size of 1,800 square feet could catch more than 56,000 gallons of rainwater most years. This is about 280 days of total water use. If, instead of an expensive dam, what if we invested in water harvesting? The future development of Lincoln is currently a clean slate, and we could build every one of those new homes with infrastructure to harvest their rainwater. Installing a water harvesting system is very cost-effective when the house is initially built. No single solution is a panacea, but if we combine these alternatives, we would be investing in a future with more security of resources and finances. It seems there are plenty of innovative ways to manage our water without building another big, expensive dam or removing 72 billion gallons of the Bear River. I don't think we need to drown another 6 miles of this precious valley or a river that has already been so compromised. We don't need to demolish the homes of our citizens or flood the graves of past native residents. We don't need to worsen climate change or put more toxic mercury into our fish or our families. We don't need to threaten the Yuba River. Let's not be angry towards NID for considering Centennial Dam. Let us be sympathetic, because sometimes the hardest and right decision is turning back before it's too late. The weight of this project rests on NID's shoulders, so let's wish them the strength and wisdom required. NID needs to hear from you. We only have to convince 3 of the 5 NID directors, and this whole dam problem goes away. We can do that. We might have to get every person in the Gold Country talking about this, but we can do that too. If we care, then let's act. Educate yourself and others on the facts. Support the organizations who are devoted to the cause. And most importantly, commit to your future generations, to the community, and to the river. This is not an end, but a beginning.
I am the Bear River, and I am proud of this community every time you keep a place wild and protected. It's time to come together and stand up for the ideals you hold most dear. Don't underestimate yourself, and don't overestimate the opposition. Now is the time for each of you to do whatever it takes to convince NID that Centennial Dam must be stopped and the rivers must be protected.
For no worries, worries and troubles come around. Said I don't look for no worries, worries and troubles come around. We'll keep on turning, gotta keep my feet on the ground. Nobody saw me crying, nobody knows the way I feel. Said nobody saw me crying, nobody knows the way I feel. Said the way I love that woman, she's bound to get me killed.
Thank you to Stifel Financial, proudly helping individuals pursue financial goals, businesses and organizations raise and protect capital, and communities offer a higher quality of life. To learn more, visit www.stifel.com.
Wildfire danger is high. The extreme drought has caused tinder dry conditions across the state. About 95% of all wildfires in California are caused by people. So it's up to all of us to take steps to prevent sparking a wildfire. Use outdoor equipment before 10 a.m. and never on hot or windy days. Don't use lawnmowers or weed trimmers with metal blades on dry grass. Make sure your vehicle is properly maintained with nothing dragging on the ground. Remember, one less spark means one less wildfire. Learn more from CAL FIRE at readyforwildfire.org.
Ever wonder what causes those fires on the side of the freeway? It's stuff hanging from the back of your vehicle. Come on, guys. If you have a chain back there, be careful. It could start a spark, and that could cause a wildfire. So every time you're outside of your car on a road trip, getting gas, make sure there's nothing hanging back there, because one less spark is one less wildfire.
Smokey Bear says, have a spark-safe day.
We are here for a very short period of time. My goal is to make sure that the impact that I create, it's a good one for future generations. My name is Javier Zamora, and I am a farmer, and I own JSM Organics. We grow lots of strawberries, vegetables, and flowers, all organic. My farm is located in Monterey County, about 3.5 miles away from the coast. What makes this area really unique is our weather conditions. This is a strawberry land where Mother Nature allows us to grow these beautiful fruits. My ranch that I now own is a 200-acre ranch, and 120 of those acres are part of a conservation easement. If I didn't have a partner like the Alcorn Slough Foundation that put in the money to have an easement on my property, it would have been really difficult for me to own a piece of land. And what's a farmer with no land? It's like having a painter with no canvas. How do I manage a farm this size organically? We allow Mother Nature to do its thing, and we're not pushing things in a way that would jeopardize the flavor, because we don't use any chemicals. Conventional people would spray for those insects. We actually vacuum them. We have a vacuum that is mounted on a tractor, that it goes above the canopy of the strawberries, and it actually gives those bad beetles a ride for their money. About 2 years ago, I was approached by a packaging company. They had developed a new way of packaging strawberries or different vegetables with no plastic. Immediately I say, yes, this is it. My customers are going to be very happy with this. We don't need any more plastics to be dropped in the ocean or landfills. This is a beautiful package that you can go ahead and throw it in your compost pile, but it's definitely not going to be in the ocean. My philosophy about workforce is that people need to be happy and get paid well for what they're doing and what they're contributing to, in this case, the farm. I'm really happy to say that my employees get at least $2 to $3 more per hour than what some people around would pay them. So we have employees that are really happy, and we get people that are really eager to come and work for the farm. can't think of, how sad the past was or why didn't I start farming immediately when I came to America. That's just the path that destiny had for me. Now that I own a farm and I can have lots of people being fed out of it, makes me extremely happy.
Right now, there is a problem taking place all over the world that you probably aren't even aware of. Elephant riding is a glamorized activity in society today, but behind closed doors, it's not as pretty as it may initially appear to be. Here's why I believe elephant riding should be taken off your bucket list. Acquiring an elephant for riding is a brutal job. Baby elephants are ripped from their happy lives and loving families at an early age. Not only this, but the protective mothers are often murdered in the process as well. The elephants are then taken and put through a process called the crush. The elephants are tied up so they are completely unable to move, and then brutally beaten and tortured with tools specifically designed to inflict pain called bullhooks. In this process, the elephants can also endure being burned, starved, and forced to stay awake for days at a time. This is done so the elephants' spirits and hopes are completely crushed, so they oblige to all of their commands out of fear. This process is so brutal, almost half of the elephants don't survive. Not only is elephant riding harmful to the elephants put through it, but it's affecting the entire species of elephants as well. Currently, there are 6,500 elephants currently living in Thailand. Out of this, 2,500 of these elephants are poached for work. In the wild, an elephant's lifespan is 70 years, but in captivity, an elephant's lifespan is only 30 to 40 years. This shows how much elephant riding is affecting the extinction of elephants. So how can you help? If you or someone you know is planning on visiting a place in which elephant riding is popular, make sure to do your research and not support companies that are cruel to their elephants. You can also donate to elephant sanctuaries and rehabilitation centers such as David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, International Elephant Foundation, and World Land Trust.
Oh, hi. I suppose you're wondering what an A-list celebrity like me is doing in a place like this. You must know, I'm saving the world. Oh, hi, Beth. Yep, saving the world again. Did you know that 40% of all the food produced in the United States is thrown away? That means everything that went into that food, the pesticides, the water, the land, was all for nothing. Just look at this perfectly good food thrown in the trash. The pizza with extra Cheerios, these goldfish and Band-Aid tacos. And just look at this perfect trash burger. This pasta dog looks delicious.
You don't have to dumpster dive like Ed Begley Jr. to save the planet. Fight food waste by shopping smart and using what you buy before it gets trashed.
That's way better. Ooh, arugula.
Do your part and find out other world-saving tips at betterthaned.org.